I'm Amy DeVroon and welcome to Year of the Selfie podcast. 2020 has been a mad year thus far, a year where we've really had to take a look at ourselves. As a self-help nut, this hasn't been hugely out of the ordinary for me, but what has been so unusual is watching an entire creative industry grind to a halt in front of my very eyes. The link between creativity and mental health has always fascinated me, so I wanted to go deeper. In a world where we so often equate success with fame, it can be easy to forget the reason behind it all. Creativity. This unique, inexplicable gift. The thing we do where we lose all sense of time. The thing that lifts our hearts even in the darkest of moments. The thing that many of us feel we were put on this earth to do. So every week I'm going to talk to my guests about just that. Their creativity. Their highs and lows, and where they find their creativity when it feels like there's nowhere to put it. Today's guest on the podcast is none other than the lovely Aoibhín Garrihy, actress, voice artist, and founder of Bio. And someone who, not many people will know this piece of information, is great crack at a wedding. So, hi, Aoibhín Garrihy. Welcome to Year of the Selfie podcast. Yay.
Thank you, Amy DeVroon. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. I'm actually so thrilled you said yes. I was actually very nervous and excited at the same time because I think what's really interesting about you is like I would have met you back in the day in like audition rooms and different bits and bobs like that, and then kind of seeing your career kind of evolve and change is quite interesting. And I always see and I think as well, like the media kind of portrays you in one very specific light. You're very glam, you're very graceful, you're very, but I also just wanted to kind of get in and find out more about you, because I've met you in the real world before and you're great crack at a wedding, can I just say? So I just kind of wanted to get a bit more kind of conversational and kind of see where we could go and have a chat about kind of like, I suppose, kind of where your creative journey has led you as well.
I love that. I think, you're totally right. We can kind of put ourselves into boxes and there's a lot more going on beneath the surface. And I'm quite open. I'm more than happy to discuss this area that is actually a bit of an uncomfortable one for me. And you talk about career, and even when you say career, I start to squirm a bit because, we all have imposter syndrome, and I'm like, what career? And every day I'm getting out of the bed, coming up with I suppose new concepts, new ideas, but also reasons to justify my existence, And I think as an artist, or someone in this space, that's what you're constantly trying to do because, you work for yourself and I guess, it's every day is a school day, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, definitely. And I totally relate to that, even just like the trying to kind of almost, justify your existence. And would you find it hard, like that kind of word, like artist, would you feel even with that word a bit impostery? Like, would you be kind of going, oh God, am I, or are you kind of...
Well, I don't consider myself, I don't consider myself one now. And I don't know if I ever did, to be quite honest. And even now, it's funny, like, I feel like I've not left, but I have parked acting for the foreseeable. And even seeing actor on paper now, when someone kind of refers to me, or I squirm at that as well, and that just kind of makes my skin crawl a little bit because I'm like, I don't deserve that title, and it's not what I'm about at the moment. It's not what I'm doing, and not where my energies lie. And so it's funny. It takes a while to shake it off, I guess, and not that I want to, and it's something that I do think I will come back to. Listening to Sean speak last week, and we'll talk about that, I think, throughout this conversation. But he hasn't really hung up the shoes yet or the boots yet, and I feel a bit like that too. But for now, it feels strange to see actor written. Yeah, it really does.
But I don't think anyone does ever kind of, let it go. I think maybe they just, like you say, kind of park it for a while. But I'm interested actually in that. Was there like a moment, or was there kind of a strange time where you felt yourself maybe falling out of love with it? Maybe not even the art form, maybe more so just the grind of it, like, you know, the kind of, the business of it, you know.
Totally. Like, there's a picture here. I'll just show you this. This was just, as I was just setting up, like this little setup for our chat here today. This was on the wall, and it's just a picture of Pride and Prejudice, say, right? Yeah. When we toured to Hong Kong with the Gate, and that was just such a happy time in my life. You know, as were other productions that I was involved with. The physical act of acting. When I was in training in Trinity for 3 years, I did a Bachelor in Acting Studies course there. And that was such a bubble of happiness. Like, I don't think I've ever been that content in a kind of a career sense or a work sense in what I was doing than I was at that time. And when I came out, then the harsh reality of the industry, the hustle, the grind, it just didn't sit well with me. I suppose that the physical act of acting was sheer joy. Like, you know, when I was in a role, when I was exploring a character, you know, when I was part of the production, part of the team, and I guess immersed in it. Yes, I loved every second of it. It was the stuff in between. It was the waiting for the phone to ring, the rejection, the disappointment, the really feeling like I was there. I was thereabouts. I was, you know, this was the one. And then to be shot down again. And then I suppose all the other stuff that goes on, the liquor thing, and I don't know, it's probably not as intense now. I think people are wising up to it, and I see young actors now, they're so when it comes to their craft, they're so disciplined. Back in the day, it wasn't like that. You had to hang around Temple Bar in order to you know, get your name out there. Like, you had to hang around fucking Doyle's or bloody what's the one on Abbey Street? I don't know if it's even bloody still open, but it was all of that, you know. It was all of that stuff. Whereas now, I think they are so disciplined, which is great to see. You know, they're probably not involved in that drink culture as much as we were when starting out. You know, they're a lot more athletic, and they're looking after themselves and their bodies, their temples, and they're involved in yoga, and they're practicing Wim Hof, and they're all of these things, which is great to see. It really is. And it's the way it should be.
No, definitely. And it is that kind of strange. I always found that a bit weird, the sort of like the who you know, the who you drink with. And I know even coming back from England, I knew nobody. So I was just like, well, I'm not kind of part of this. Like, and I'm not, I don't know. I wonder, is it still kind of a thing in Ireland? Maybe a little bit, but maybe not so much. Maybe. And roles have opened up. Like, did you find back when we were kind of starting out, because I think we were kind of similar-ish time. Like, there weren't these kind of amazing roles that were coming up for young ones in their 20s. Like, I was always told, no, wait until like your 30s or your 40s and that's your time, you know.
Totally. And I felt I didn't look Irish enough. I didn't like for.
Did you consider dyeing the hair red? Was that? Because every Irish person does that. Oh, did you?
I did it.
Oh my god! Brilliant.
No, not red. It was kind of it was an auburny, mousy. I was trying to just hair it all back. I was a bit too LA, I think, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh no.
And I was trying to shake all of that off. I really was. I went through a bit of an identity crisis, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and I think most people kind of do that are in this kind of industry. You know, it's hard to fit. And was there a point where you figured out, oh, this is my thing, this is my selling point, or were you always kind of struggling to figure out kind of what you know, who am I to sell? Like, what, you know, what is my thing?
I don't know. There were roles that I thought in my mind I was perfect for, and then they didn't happen, and then I saw the actress play the role who inevitably got it, and I thought, okay, yeah, they were right. And I think, you know, that's my own, and again, listening to Sean, there was so much I could relate to. It's the demons inside you, and we're our own worst critic, aren't we? Like,
so would the inner demon for you happen when you got the script and it was on the page, or would it happen in the room when you're like performing for people, or did it just stop you even bothering anymore, you know, that kind of feeling?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I mean, you know, you'd get sent a script, you'd fall in love with it, and then you'd wonder if you were able, if you'd do it justice. Then you'd put the work in, and you'd arrive at the audition, and I would see you, or I would see somebody else, you know, out the corridor beforehand, and you think, oh, good luck. And often I would be throwing in the towel before I even got into to give it a whirl. And I suppose, yeah, listening to Sean last week, it's the same thing. It's those inner demons, and I don't know, do they ever go away? But you know, that negative self-talk can be crippling. And when young actors come to me, and I do teach drama here in Clare, and when they come and say, do you think I should do it? It's something I'd love to do. Do you think I should go for it? I often say to them, if you cannot live without it, go for it. If you can, give it another think.
Yeah.
because it got to the point where I could live without it, and I suppose and that's what got me to this point. Because you need to have an undying love and I guess a dedication to your craft, because otherwise it's dog eat dog, and it can really play on your emotions, your mental health, I guess, and it brings it back to that, doesn't it? It's something that it can be really toxic. It really can, and unless you are able to, I guess, introduce a little bit of balance into your life, and you know, find other ways to bring yourself joy, it can really get you down.
Yeah. And even I was just thinking of what you're saying about that when you go into the room. I always find that a really interesting point that maybe actors don't have nowadays. When you go into the audition room and you see other people, it sort of bursts that little bubble that you've been having this lovely time with this character and this piece of work. And you've been really coming from this pure place. And then it kind of jars in this kind of weird competitive thing where you're like, and then also, you know, the people as well, do you know?
Yeah.
Would you feel strange actually when you see other actors now, or you bump into maybe people that you trained with and stuff like that? Is there a sort of a like, because we all kind of do feel of the need to justify yourself and justify what you're doing now?
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Not now, not anymore. It's really gone for me now, but in the early stages, like I hustled maybe for 10 years, and then I made the decision to do reality TV. and so
that was Dancing with the Stars, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And a lot of people would have said, like, career suicide, Aoibhín, what are you doing? And I knew there was an element of that, you know, and I knew, you know, a lot of, you know, the casting agents and directors would struggle to take me seriously after that. I knew it was, I was probably jumping into bed with the enemy. But I had to weigh up the pros and cons, and things weren't happening as quickly as I'd have liked them to happen. And I was losing patience, you know, and so that was something that I wanted to give a go, in the sense that it was a real challenge. And I suppose I'm a kind of a glass half full person. When something lands on my lap, I kind of face it head on. I'm prepared to embrace it. And this was something, apart from the fact that, okay, it was good in terms of profile building and you know, to see what might come on after that, but also from the sense that I was getting an opportunity to learn a new art form in a very intense environment. And you know, of course, a lot of it is produced for TV and for viewership and all of that. But in the same breath, I had like an unbelievable pro dancer who taught me, you know, to fall in love with dancing. And I really did for that period. Like, I immersed myself in it. And it was incredible to learn, you know, those dances and to become that character. It really was. Each week it was similar in the sense that you really kind of had to inhabit a role and you know, embrace it. And there was an element of acting in it. There was definitely an element of performance in it. And it was a really enjoyable experience. Not so much the you know, pinning each contestant against the other and, you know, hustling for votes and all of that stuff.
Yeah, that kind of feels icky, doesn't it? That
kind of, the behind the scenes drama and all of that, you know. But you feel like a bit of a politician as well, you know, campaigning for yourself. But I loved the actual the art form of ballroom dance, and that was amazing.
Yeah. No, and it was like it's so funny because it is actually something hugely creative to do, to every week be gifted a dance that you have to learn and perform. But yet there is with those kind of things that kind of you feel like, oh well, it's not legitimate enough because it's deemed under reality TV. But actually, if you're searching for creativity, there's someone just handing you, like, here we go, pay you to go and be creative every single week and and enjoy it,
yeah. So I mean, initially, yes, I was probably making apologies for it, and then I said, you know what, like it's an opportunity, and look, life's too short to be sweating.
And probably the more you let go into it, the better you probably did, because you're probably just going, fuck this, I'm gonna just fly at this now,
just embrace it. Yeah.
And do you think it actually, was that at a weird time, confidence wise, maybe you were quite low? Would that have kind of like given you quite a boost actually in confidence in a way? Would it?
Yeah, it was probably the most difficult thing I ever had to do. Like the interview stuff, I before that I was always inhabiting a role, I was becoming a character, and then I was on camera every day, every week for 3 months as Aoibhín, and I guess I found myself in that, and I realized what my limitations were, and I became more comfortable just being me, and I didn't have to wear the mask, you do for the dances, of course, but there was all the other stuff with the on-camera stuff, and that was a real learning curve. And I suppose I had to kind of be faced with myself, and I suppose it was those kind of conversations, delving into like how I felt each week, and how difficult it was not being with John, and all the other stuff that went with it, that taught me a lot, and I suppose has brought me to this point and led me on to what I'm doing now, and while I'm not acting anymore, those conversations, there's an element of performance in bringing the live shows, the live events around the country, and meeting people, and bringing something spontaneous to the stage. It's not a story, but people are sharing their own personal journeys and personal stories. It's not a play, it's not a show, but it's something different, and it's probably brought me more joy than anything I've ever done in the past, in that you feel like it's making a difference. You feel like you're reaching someone at a time in their life where they really need it.
And so when you kind of started BO, was it that kind of thing where all the stars aligned, or was there a moment of inspiration behind it, or was it just something that had kind of been ticking over in your head for a while?
It was something that happened really organically. I really didn't intend to start a business. It was just something that I suppose it was an idea I had, and no more than yourself, Amy, and anyone else who kind of gets an itch that they just need to scratch. It was just something I felt like too many women I knew and loved were burning the candle at both ends, and and it would take a real wake-up call in order for them to kind of realize that they need to start looking after themselves. And women generally tend to put themselves way down their list of priorities, and this was just something that I felt like so many of the women that I knew and loved needed. And I'm living in the West. Look, Dublin can be really spoilt for choice in terms of what's on offer, in that whole realm of self-care and health and well-being. At the time, this was like over 3 years ago here, it's just not as readily available, I suppose. And of course, John being involved in the hospitality industry and having the hotel, he wanted to get people in the door, and I wanted to do this. So we kind of put our heads together, with my partner Sharon, who's based here as well, and we came up with the concept. We brought it to John's spot first, and there was a real interest, and then we decided to kind of venture further afield. We went to Limerick, and it just kind of grew and grew and grew, and we've now welcomed over 20,000 people across the country. So there's definitely I guess there's a desire for this type of thing, for people to have real conversations about all aspects of what it is to be a woman, whether that's fertility, health checks, people sharing just the shit that they've been through. And like the conversation we're having now, just putting your heart in your sleeve and saying, look, here I am, warts and all, in order to help other people, And
I think as women, we're kind of less likely to do that because we want to sort of be seen weirdly to each other, not no one really
No.
gives a crap about the men, but like to each other, you want to be seen as like, no, I'm coping and I'm doing really great, and I can manage all of this, like while you're just like absolutely dying inside. It's like it's kind of mental.
Yeah.
And I feel
Yeah.
like BO sounds like it just seems, well, anything I've seen of it just seems quite accessible. Like it's like a way in, because I think sometimes people hear health and wellness and you just think, like,
They just think you're hugging
yeah.
trees and you're, and it's not about that. And I'm not a gym bunny, and I would put my hand up and say I like my glass of wine as much as the next person.
Oh my
It's
God,
not
we all
about,
do.
it's not about that,
Yeah.
It's not about it's just about giving yourself that time and space to recharge the batteries, because now as a new mom, it's so fucking hard. It's
I know.
so
I was
hard
going to
to get the
ask,
time.
how is that with like 2 kids? Like, because like, oh my God, I have an 11-month-old. She's 11 months today. Happy 11-month Billy. But I'm like, oh my God. And then trying to find the bits that kind of fill you up, say like you were creatively, because that's still what you're doing. Are you able to? Because you've got, what is it, under 2?
Yeah.
Or 2 and under, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
And I know. And like, I'm blessed. I am utterly blessed with my 2 little bundles of joy.
Of course.
But
yeah.
I did not plan this. Like, I mean, I knew it was going to happen,
Yes.
I know what happens with the birds and the bees, but
we're like, this is a very different type of podcast. We're like, now, Aoibhín, come on now, love.
But what I mean is,
Yeah.
I was not the broody, gravitate towards the baby in the room person. I just wasn't. And my sister Alvina, and she's pregnant now, which is so exciting. She's due in a matter of months. But she was always that maternal, girl in our home. She had her dolls, and she, used to beg mom for another baby, and that was her. And she seemed to know how to handle Honora when Honora arrived quicker than I did. It was like she's an encyclopedia with this stuff, and always has been. I'm learning on the job, and it's amazing. Like, it's the most amazing thing that's ever happened. But it's life altering, isn't it? And you do yearn for that part of yourself that was before. It's a strange thing. Like, I think less so now with Leavon. I have kind of given myself to this new role of mother, but before with Honora, I think you do try and prove a point to yourself that, like, this is just going to slot in. This is going to just this is not going to change my life. It's going to enhance my life, and all will be well. And we'll get back to the way things are. It's not like that. It's just not like.
No. Yeah, I definitely felt that with Billy, actually. And I people were like, Amy, what are you doing? Like, the mad stuff I was doing when she was tiny. Like, I was like, right, here we go. Let's go here. Let's go there. Like, you want
and firstly,
to
I don't know how you even managed to be pregnant for as long as you were without a sinner know it. Like, that was epic. Like, epic.
I know. I was very neat and I was very able to hide it. Like, I did jobs where we just didn't tell.
You obviously had a great pregnancy, and you didn't feel sick, and you felt well. You were.
No, I felt absolutely dreadful. I hated every second of it. To the point my sister said to me the other day, she's like, I was worried you wouldn't bond with the baby. Like, you were so whingy. I found it very sore, found it very uncomfortable.
But how did you go that long then without telling people how crap you felt? That's what I couldn't understand. I mean,
like, my friends and family, obviously, yeah. But I think in terms of like outsiders, but it was very strange. Like, I remember doing a job and someone was like, Amy, have you got kids? And I was like, no. And then like went purple because I felt like I was lying, because I was quite clearly like 5 months pregnant at the time. So I was like, no, I don't. And I'm not going to tell you that I'm pregnant either. So we're just going to this awkwardness in the air. Yeah. Quite
but was there a part of you that here I am asking you?
Yeah, I know.
I'm just interested. I'm just interested. Was there a part of you that you just wanted to be you, and you didn't want a whole lot to change?
I think so. I definitely think so. And I think I definitely kind of was like, it's a bit scared of it. Like, definitely scared of of what was. I wasn't scared of having the baby. That was the weirdest thing. I think I was scared of kind of the change or something. I remember even someone saying, are you, scared of what will happen when you have the baby? And I was like, no, because I feel like I'll just dive in. Like, I just do those things.
You've no choice.
You've no choice. But I was going, I think I'm scared of, like, think birth I was scared of,
Yeah.
the change I was scared of, kind of. I think that I worked very hard in pregnancy, work-wise, because I was scared of losing work, I
I
think.
know.
Well,
I
you
know.
worked a lot in pregnancy, didn't you? Were you like,
Yeah.
you
I
basically
was
been
lucky.
working
I was
solidly
lucky
for
in
the
that
last couple of years, so I'm like, oh my God.
no, I was lucky in the sense that I felt well. I did feel
Yeah.
well. And Honora came in the middle of the heat wave, 2 years, 2 years now. Yeah, she's two in a matter of days. So it was like that really glorious weather, and I swam like every day in the sea right up to her birth, and it was lovely. Like it was
Yeah.
great. It was great. I felt well, so I suppose I could keep going. But I know that's not everyone, and I know some people have a horrific time, and
Yeah.
I guess your body tells you what you can and you can't do.
Definitely. Yeah. It's just it's a mad kind of. But fair play to you because you actually have done a lot. Like, was Bio started when she was a baby, when Honora was a baby, or was that before
Yeah,
that?
like a year before, more, even
And then you
more.
just kept
Yeah,
going.
it was well underway. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
You
God.
don't have a choice, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
you don't have the luxury of maternity leave. You just don't. Like you just
No,
have to soldier on.
absolutely not. No, it's kind of mental. And your sisters, actually, just speaking of your sisters, you're kind of a bit of a
Yes.
brand, the three of you. And kind of your mom and dad as well, too. Because I was on a walk recently and I passed by their house and I instantly was like, oh, hello. Like I have never officially met them, but I was like, oh, I know them. Know them from the interweb.
That's Darren, I suppose. Darren is like Darren shares, and I suppose how she got into what she's now doing is by documenting her life online, and she
Yeah.
started off with Snapchat, and that all kicked off for her. But I suppose when she's having a down day or not feeling very inspired, she just uses them as guinea pigs, and or the dogs as guinea pigs, and they provide the content. And my mom and dad are characters anyway, so it was easy. But I mean, they had no say in the matter. They were plastered up on social media before they had a chance to even realize what was happening, to be
Oh, of
honest.
course. And parents so don't as well. They've no idea what you're doing to them. Like, it's ridiculous, especially with all this like technology stuff. You're just like, sorry, you're famous
Yeah.
now.
Well, underneath it all, they're chuffed with themselves. Of course they are, because Dad's in business now as well. He has the boats, and he gets people coming up to him on Deliri Pier saying, "Oh, Eugene," and he's like,
Oh
"Great,
my
now will you
God.
hop on board?"
Yeah, exactly. Gives your money now. Come on. My God, that's like, and it's funny with you because of my sister. I've got four sisters. My eldest sister was in acting, and kind of is a similar story to you, which is quite interesting. She kind of parked it for a while, and now the kids are like, oh God, Riley's 13, so like 13, 12, and 8, and she kind of in the last couple of years really went back to it and stuff. But in a really natural way. She'd always kind of kept it going in the background and was doing voiceovers and singing, and just in a really natural way, it kind of came back around, which was kind of really nice for her as well. And but like, has it ever been a weird, like, I suppose with, say, you and Darren, you both are in the same industry. Is there ever a weirdness there? Like, or if she's doing something that you're like, oh fuck, my language is appalling. Oh, like, I'd love to be doing that. Or you're just having a downtime, or she's having a downtime and you're kind of flying it. Or is there ever any of that? Or is it just kind of like...
There really is. It's funny. Like, there really isn't. Like, we just don't have that sibling rivalry. And I know it's there for people. And I know, like, there's probably people tuned in saying, would you just be honest? And I would say I'm honest with everything. Like, I would say, but with Darren, we're so different. There's 5 years between us, and I don't think I'm funny. Like, I just don't. And any like a comedic script that would arrive into my, I'd be like allergic to it, because I just, even like in college improvisation, I used to just get anxiety around that particular module or whatever it was, because there was that pressure to be funny in improv, even with your classmates, and I just wasn't ever the funny one, and it used to it killed me. Whereas Darren was the opposite. Like, she just has always had us in hysterics. She always had, like, her ability to do impressions. She used to do it of the teachers. She used to do it of our parents, whoever we'd meet. She'd just have us rolling around the kitchen growing up. And that's always been her role, to entertain us. And so we're just so different. Like, she wouldn't go for this. not really. I know, like, I mean,
Yeah.
there's some little gray areas, but like generally we're just so different. And it was me that kind of encouraged her. She just didn't have the patience either to do the hustle, the casting couch, and she went to Trinity. She did drama and theatre studies. She actually got the Lear as well, but she didn't take it. She decided to just get her degree and then figure it out after that. And she got an agent when she came out of college, but only managed to go to about handful of auditions and then said, "Feck this!" Like, she just gave up. But it's come full circle now, and she now has her own show on the RT Player, the Darren Project, where she's essentially acting. Like, it took me to say to her, "Darren, like, you're acting here," and she didn't really. It didn't dawn on her. Like, she was writing the scripts, she was writing these characters. Some of them were sketches, they were original sketches, and then others are impressions of people in the public eye or whatever. And I said, "Darren, like, you're on set every day, you're acting, this is what you've always wanted to do." And she was like, "Jesus, never thought of it that way."
Yeah, because you kind of don't see it from that perspective at all. It's funny
like,
though,
she had packed it in.
Yeah, and it's funny actually, because me and my sister are always saying that we say we don't actually have that rivalry thing either. And now there's 11 years between me and Fiona, so like there's quite a gap there. And there has been a few oddnesses where we'll arrive at maybe like a commercial audition, and it'll be, they'll be looking for, they'll be quite vast, the age ranges, in like, they'll be looking for kind of my version of a mother or her version of a mother or whatever. But generally, you don't, I would love to know what that is, that you don't have that. I don't know whether it's just like, because I think really with sisters, it's like your success and their success is your success and theirs, like it all kind of feels... You feel kind
like
of
I get genuinely ecstatic when she has good news. And the same with Alva. Like, that's always been the way. And like, I would tell her if she's putting a foot out of place, and it's just I guess we're cheerleaders for one another, which is brilliant, because
really nice.
I haven't found that really in friendships, like, because I suppose I have it with them, and so I haven't actively invested. And I think you mentioned that before, when you have sisters, I suppose it's kind of half the battle, isn't it? You always have someone to rely on.
And it's hard to find friendships that match up to that, I think, as well, because you're so used to a certain level of loyalty and a certain level of understanding that, like, when you go into a friendship, you're like, sorry, what is this? Like, you
don't have unconditional love for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't shit all over you and you'll bounce back.
Yeah, like it's so weird. So I think it does a great service, but maybe a disservice in certain ways, where you're kind of it's a completely strange one. But like, no, it's amazing, and you're so lucky now that you have two little sisters there yourself. I know. Two little like girlos. But like, would you feel? I'm just thinking of like that kind of idea of like, I suppose the Garrihy brand, which makes me sound, I feel so ridiculous even saying it, because it just sounds odd. But like, I don't mean it as a brand, but would you, like, not even with them, but yourself, would you be quite conscious now, because you've gone from, because I think like actors can do whatever the hell they want, and they're kind of like, when you're just kind of just acting and there's no kind of brand there. Like, you can kind of, like, I always think if anyone tried to brand me, they wouldn't know what to be doing, because I'm taking the piss 1 minute in my Insta videos, and then I'm doing something real serious, like a poem. Like, people are probably just like, who are you? Like, I can't brand that. But like, would you feel like a pressure to, like, now that there is an element of branding, I guess, to your persona, is there like a pressure to kind of keep that up all the time, even when, like you're saying with Darren, on the down days where you're like, I've no content, I don't want to do this. No.
I don't know. I mean, for me, like, I didn't grow up with that. Like, I didn't grow up in the world of social media. In college, there was no mention. Like, despite the fact that, like, I mean, we were a business. Like, each actor is a business, and they are their own brand. There was no mention of that. There was no, like, how to deal with social media, how to even portray yourself to the media, how to deal with press. There was nothing on how to manage your finances or any of that stuff. Like, and I hope it's changed. I don't know if it has it. I don't know. Maybe people who have just come out of college, or who have been through actor training really recently.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not down with kids as much.
No. It's such a massive part of it. Whereas Darren, I would have learned a lot from her, I suppose, in that she did, after college, she went on then and did a few different courses, social media courses and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
She has advised, I suppose, in that respect. But look at, there's no science to it. I think once you have a bit of cop on and you don't
Yeah.
go online at like crazy hours of the night, or like a lot of the stuff I see, particularly now around, these conversations and really important conversations that are happening. Some people are really impulsive, and I'm like, just stop and think. I think, if you can implement a bit of restraint sometimes, and
Yeah.
not literally type what you think, you know, uh,
Yes.
on the daily, like, just, it's not, while, okay, yes, it is an open forum, it's not your diary. It's
Yeah.
not
Oh,
like,
totally.
don't put your innermost thoughts
I
out
know.
there.
And it's with no kind of stepping back. Like, in a way, actually, that's quite interesting, because I'm just thinking, because you obviously seem to be able to do that.
Yeah,
I think I'm able to do that
I
too.
hope.
So
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
worry. I think,
yeah,
people do. But like that, you obviously are able to maybe step back from yourself and kind of take a minute and put it right, do it right or whatever.
yeah.
Do you ever think that was something that maybe hindered you when you were acting, in terms of inner demons? Not that, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, as in,
probably. And like that, going back to the improv class, that, yeah, maybe things are a little bit too calculated or curated, or that you just don't throw yourself and make an ass of yourself and fail. I think I was scared to fail.
yeah,
Maybe I was.
which
Um,
is a common, I think, thing with actors anyway, is they're actually
yeah,
terrified of failing.
yeah, yeah. And there was that imposter syndrome, but also, I'm quite competitive, and I'm not a perfectionist, but what I do, I just want to do well or right. And I think I probably get that from my mom. And yeah, when I didn't get the gig, it did feel like a punch in the stomach. Of course it did. Like, and
Yeah,
and someone who's competitive, it just doesn't sit well with.
yeah,
I'm quietly like, I'm shy, but I'm competitive. I'm kind of
yeah.
quietly competitive. I guess I have a certain bar that I try and reach, or you try and break your own glass ceiling.
Oh yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, I can totally understand that kind of, I don't think you have to be kind of bashing around being like, I'm the best, to
No.
be like competitive. I think you can quietly, and it's always the quiet ones that sort of just catch up on you there and kind of
Yeah,
take the
yeah.
prize a little bit. No, it's
But it
a,
is, I mean, just on the whole social thing, it is important to remember that, like, the majority, and we did speak about the impulsive stuff too, but
mm,
the majority of the stuff that you see is curated, and
yeah,
like, you're comparing yourself then to people's highlights reel, and and you're kind of sitting in your own behind the scenes, and you're thinking, Jesus, I need to get my shit together. So it can be the thief of joy, can't it, that comparison thing?
oh totally, like it's ridiculous. And and I think, and I wonder as well, like with actors, I guess, or creatives nowadays, it kind of, I think it, do you think a little bit whips, like takes away from some of that creativity, because you've tricked yourself into thinking you're being creative? So like, if you're spending 20 minutes on I don't know, a TikTok, I don't know, I'm not on TikTok, so I have no idea what I'm talking about here. Okay, let's say Instagram video, of like, I don't know, a bit or a dance or a song you can
Yeah,
kind of almost tell yourself, oh, well, I've done something, I've performed today and people have
yeah,
seen it. And it's
yeah, yeah.
like, it's great. I'm really working. But like, yeah, I mean, yeah, but I was just gonna, yeah, I was just kind of going, did you always kind of know you wanted to be in the creative industry in some capacity? Or was it kind of something that, because obviously you're saying would you have, like, was acting the number one thing from day one? Or was it kind of like, because I know when I spoke to other people or even spoke to Sean, he's like, he's doing drawing now,
Yeah.
but he's kind of going, no, I actually, when I was 7, I went in. Was there ever those kind of points, pivotal moments where you're like, that's the thing I want to?
Yeah, like, for me, and in a similar way that my career trajectory has unfolded, I was a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. And maybe that's me just bashing myself again, but I loved all of the extracurricular stuff, and anything creative excited me. Yeah, totally, 100%. Like, I wasn't academic. I mean, I wasn't bad at school, but I wasn't head in the books type of. It was all the other stuff that used to float my boat, that used to kind of get me going.
Yeah.
All the extracurricular, like whether that was, performing arts, dance, music, acting, and sport. I loved sport as well. I was, heavily involved in sport growing up. So I suppose I tried my hand at anything, and it was the drama that gave me the most joy. And I suppose it was having a really amazing kind of mentor that kind of egged me on really, and said, look, there's this, and I think you should give it a go. You should go for it. And that was the Bachelor in Acting Studies course in Trinity. So when it came to choosing what I would do, and looking at the CAO, nothing really excited me apart from what I did. And it was like, my parents were like, and what will you do after that?
Yeah.
They couldn't figure it out. And look, they were probably right.
No, but I'm like, look at you now. You kind of set the tone. And it's so interesting as well, like that you were always interested in throwing yourself into a lot of different things. And that's kind of like essentially where what's you happened. Are, like what's happened around.
Like while I know at the beginning of this conversation we spoke about the act of acting and how love every second of it, but there were other parts of the brain that I wasn't using that I knew I wanted to, and business for me was always something that I was curious about. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and my husband is really creative in what he's doing. It's nothing to do with what I'm doing, but he's so creative. Like he's a hotelier, but like little projects excite him, and whether that's a refurb of a room, or like a design of a new brochure or website, or whether it's curating a whole new menu, or at the moment, like they're obviously having to be very innovative and come up with new ways to kind of keep the brand alive online. So they're coming up with these blend boxes. They're like cocktail boxes that they're sending out in this blend box bus, all the bees, and and they're bringing joy to people all over the place with these cocktails and bringing them to people's homes. So like, I mean, that's all creativity, I think, anyway. And these kinds of things excite him. I saw that in him, and how he was seeing the fruits of his labor. Like he was putting time and effort into something, and he was able to see it flourish. And I wasn't getting that with acting for a long time. You can hone your craft, you can train, you can make sure that you're in shape, and that you're reading, and you're seeing as much theater as possible, and you're making sure that you're on it. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you still might not be where you hope to be, and that's what killed me.
Yeah. And it's, I suppose, the need for something tangible, because when you talk about acting, I can see it in your face, you actually do come alive. You get lost. I love seeing people talk about something they love, because they get lost in that little space, whatever that is. So you can see you come alive. But I guess it's marrying that with something a little bit tangible sometimes. And I think there should be kind of no shame in that, and there is no shame in that. And it's a shame that sometimes we feel shame about that, like when you're even saying like, oh, I can't, I didn't really feel comfortable calling myself an actor, like why not just have that title just hanging up there in the back room? Doesn't need to be, in the front at the moment. So like,
but no more than yourself, Amy. And I know, like for you, and you're still so heavily involved in the industry, and you're also curating. You're I guess you're being in charge of your own destiny, and you've always been that way in terms of your one-woman shows, and being able to, I guess, if someone else isn't going to give it to you, you're going to give it to yourself, which is an amazing way to be, and hats off to you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think for me, the one-woman shows are definitely a way to get my power back, and I think so sick of kind of waiting for the phone to ring, and or those rejections where you get down to the last two, or any of that kind of thing, and it really. And they gave me life again, which was brilliant. And even just doing this to me feels very creative, because I'm talking with people I like about things that I love. So that's great. But also this for me, I feel like it is not bio, but it feels like a thing that I could do at this time to help. I was kind of thinking of that for a long time, is going like, how can I do something that will actually be of service in some kind of way? But I would like to, as we kind of come nearing, I'm kind of reluctant to, because I feel like I want to drag loads of stuff out of you. kicking and screaming Aoibhín Garrihy. I'll be like, so tell me this. But like, what does actually creativity mean to you? If you can pack it, you don't have to package it neatly up. You can just talk for about 10 minutes on that. But no, like, I mean, what does it, what's the kind of like, how does it?
This is going to be one of the questions that I wish I got in advance that I could prepare and come up with a really intellectual answer for. But
no, but that's the good thing, Aoibhín, because it's coming out of you. It's just coming out of you, pure.
Like, I mean, I think it takes so many different forms, doesn't it? And recently I did something that oh my God, like it's going to stay with me for a long time. And it was something that I worked on with my dad and with a great videographer. And it was kind of a thank you to the frontliners in Italy. My dad put pen to paper and he came up with this lovely poem called Grazie. And it was something that he felt really compelled, no more than yourself, just compelled to write. And he spoke about all Italy had given us in terms of creativity. You know, the artists and the composers and the musicians and you know, and there's just it's a country steeped in creativity and steeped in the arts. And then he went on to say, but the best thing of all that you've given us is time, you know, that we had time to prepare for what was coming down the tracks.
Yeah.
And if you didn't see it, like we posted it up and it went everywhere, but it was just a gorgeous thank you. And I voiced it, and then we put a kind of a video to it, and it was just so emotive. And I suppose it made me reflect on creativity, and it made me reflect on the arts and the history of art, and you know, and what it can do for people. And I suppose what it is really is escapism, isn't it? It's escaping the ordinary and the mundane, and it just gives us a chance to, I suppose it's a little piece of heaven without having to die.
Oh God, I have to end on that note, Aoibhín, because that's gorgeous. A little piece of heaven without having to die. Oh, that's gorgeous. Oh God, that made me totes emotional. Sorry. I think I said totes emotional. Sorry. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
That wasn't prepared now.
Yeah, you see?
Go.
Look now, when you get out of your own way. Now, thank you for coming to my therapy session. No, but no, little piece of heaven without having to die. That's gorgeous. And that's how I feel about it. I'm always trying to get that sense of like, how can I put words to how it makes me feel? And it's magic. It is. And thank you so much, Aoibhín, because I really hope that when I look back at this, that it's kind of, it's shown you in your true light, which is an artist and is pure and isn't just a brand, because, you know, brands are great, but I don't think you're a brand. I think you're, yeah, exactly. What does it even mean? Like, do you know what I mean? I really think that we kind of, you know, got to see you, which I think is really nice. Because as I say, look, you're a great crack at a wedding. So just saying. If anyone's any weddings out there.
Oh, well, look, hopefully we won't wait for the next wedding. When all this lifts, we should have a drink somewhere
Definitely.
quiet, not in Temple Bar or.
And the lovely Aoibhín Garrihy. Thank you, Aoibhín. That was so nice. As I said, you know, when we started, I kind of wanted to get beyond the brand and the sort of idea of who Aoibhín is, because what I found with talking to her is she's open, she's willing to go deep, she's willing to say how she feels, and I just really enjoyed the chat, and I really hope that people just kind of see a new side or a different side to Aoibhín, because as I said in the interview, sometimes I think the kind of media portrays us as this kind of very one-faceted kind of you know, being, and Miss Aoibhín Garrihy is certainly not that. There are many, many layers, and that is why she is so successful at anything she turns her hand to. So thank you, Aoibhín. I can't wait to see how your journey continues to unfold. So as I say, all I wish is for you guys to get something from this, and if you did, please feel free to share the podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can subscribe, rate and review us there. You can find us on Spotify or on YouTube. We're also on Instagram at Year of the Selfie Pod. And you can find me anywhere. I love the social media. I'm all over it. So I'm going to keep these going. So I'll see you on the next one. And thanks for all your support, and just have a great day, guys.